I would retreat.
Okay, so let's continue, Abby.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna comment out. So we've looked at an array. So this is an example of array of numbers, example of array of strings. So array is anything that's inside block. You can pick out the very value considering the index. Array is zero based index. So for this one, I have index 0, 1, 2. So index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you say 5 color at 3 is equal to this, you're adding hash in the 5 colors array on the index of 3. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be white, black, blue, and ash. That's the new array of 5 colors. So when you say push, you're adding to the right hand side from the end. So you say on shift, you're adding from the left hand side at the beginning. If you say pop, you're removing from the end. If you say shift, you're removing from the beginning. You can do index of. You put the very value you want and it will track the index for you. So the index of 2 is 0, 1. It's going to be 1. That's why you have 1 here. Then you can also do array.isArray. Then you put the name of the array. It will check whether that thing is an array or not. So if what you put is an array, it will say true. If it's not, it will say false. Okay. So let's quickly look at. So I'm gonna comment everything here so that we can look at what we call object literals. So let's look at object literals. So what is object literals? So before I continue, I'm gonna copy this console.log and put it down here so that we can use it to console.log what we're doing. So what are object literals? So we've seen what array is, what number data type is, what string data type is. Let's look at object literal. So let's say const person. So this person is an object is equal to, this is how you put object literals. It has to be in curly brackets. So an object has to have key and value. So you can say first name, that's the key. So what's the value of this? So my first name, you can just simply put your first name, Augustine. So after that, you put a comma, press the enter key. The second one, you can say age. After that, you put the value of the age. You can say 30. Put comma, enter again. You can put 5 colors or anything. You can even put hobbies. Then you put your colon, square brackets. You can put the hobbies. So you can say hobbies can be, my hobbies are teaching. I watch television a lot. So watching TV, including watching news and soccer. And I also like playing football. I love sports. Okay, so you can see that inside an object you can have array. You can have any data type inside an object. In fact, inside an object you can have other objects. You can have object of objects. So I can say now something like address, and you know that you put your colon and put inside an address. You can have a couple of other things inside an address. So an address can have a street. So the street, you can make it a string and call it 85 Alaba Alabalaba Street. Okay, that's the street. Then you can have the city inside the street, and this street can be Enugu. And after the city, you can have the state, and this state can be Lagos. Okay, so those are some of the things. Make sure if it is a string that you put it inside quotes. Okay, so that's what you have. Why is the address giving me issue? Expected blah blah blah. Okay, here there should be a comma here once you finish this. So this is what we'll call a string literal. Now you can get to know one of these. So let's say now I come here now, I uncomment this, and I'm trying to pull up console.log of say something about this person person object. So I can simply say person dot. So once you say dot, you can put any of these attributes and you get it. If you say person dot name and you save, you come here and run it, it's gonna tell you the person dot age, which is 30. You can see it's 30 here. If you say person dot hobby, it's gonna list out the array, hobby array. So if I say hobby and I save, come down here, you can see teaching, watching TV, and sports. So you can pick out any of these. For this address, you have to say address dot. Then it's gonna, okay, let's say you even say hobbies at. If it is this, it's gonna be at 1. So at 1, you know it's gonna be watching TV because that's what is at 1. 0, 1. If I come down here, I'm gonna see, you can see watching TV. So in that same way, so if you want to pick out something in an array, you have to use the square bracket. But if you want to pick out something in an object, you have to use dot notation. So if I say person dot address dot city, so if I wanted to pick city, I couldn't say in square brackets 1. I have to say dot city. If I say dot city, it's gonna pick out the city as Enugu. Okay, you can see the Enugu. So that is how you can transverse and move inside an array and pick out something from an array, which is very, very important that you know about this transversal and picking out of stuff from inside stuffs. Okay, so that is that for that. That is object literals. Very, very important in getting all this sorted out. So now, knowing these object literals, I'm going to look at adding something. So let's say we want to add something to this object. Meanwhile, let's just print this object as a whole. If I say console.log person, that will print out the whole of the object the way we just created it. So you can see this is the object of first name Augustine, age 30, hobbies, teaching, watching TV, sports. Address, you have the streets as 85 Lava Lava, city Enugu, and state Lagos. Okay, so now we can add more things to this. So if I want to add something again to this object, say I want to add something like it's having first name age, I want to add say something like email. I want to add email. So I can simply say person, just like if I wanted to add an array, I would have say square bracket at say 1, the index where I want to add. Yeah, you don't need to pick the index. You can just say dot, the key, the new key you want to add. So I want to add email, person.email. So I'm going to say it's equal to, so I can say Augustine at gmail.com. So once I save this and I try to print out, see I'm consoling.log Augustine already. Please make sure this is inside quotes. If not, it's gonna give me an error. If I save this and I'm consoling.log person here, I'm gonna have, see now, it's now having email as one of the keys on this value Augustine at gmail.com. So like get to like have as many of this as anything you want to add. So let's say I want to add another thing and say person dot, I want to put the score of Augustine and it's gonna be a number. So 98%. If you save now, you come down here and print out again. So you see I'm having score here 98%. So you can add anything you want to add in an object by simply saying that object dot the new key and assigning the value, then that value is going to be inside there. So that is how you go about that. Very, very important. Okay. So apart from learning about these object literals, we are going to learn about another thing now. And what we're going to be learning about is called array of objects. Array of objects. This is very, very important. In fact, most of the database data you're going to be getting are going to be stored in form of array of objects. So array of objects. This one is an object having several values, but array of objects is when you have an array that contains other objects. So let me give you an example. If you say const and you say to-dos, const to-dos, and it is an array. So this is how you do an array equal to array. So that means it's an array. This to-dos is an array. But instead of having, say, 1, 2, 3, which are individual numbers, or say having this array having Ada, Obi, Ogene. So you see, this is array of strings. First one we did was array of numbers, array of strings. But this time around, I want it to be an array of objects. So not number, not string, but objects. So to do can have, say, one object, have another object. So it's not having array of numbers or array of strings, but it's having array of objects. So say this first object is gonna be, say, contain, say, ID of somebody. So say 1. That's the ID of the first thing to do. Then it's gonna have test. So what is this to do all about? So I'm gonna say go to the gene. Okay, and it's gonna say it's done, whether I've been able to do this to do, and you know it's done is either true or false, which is a boolean. So I'm gonna say false now. Make sure this is common. Okay, that's the first one. So for this second one, I'm also gonna have ID. This time around, ID is gonna be 2, and I'm gonna have test, and the test is gonna say do some coding. Then I'm gonna ask whether this do some coding is done. I'm gonna say true, because that's what I'm doing. Make sure you put a comma here so that there will be no error. I'm gonna come to the last to do and give it an ID of 3. Then it's gonna have the test of each something. Okay. I'm gonna ask whether this each something is done. I'm gonna say false because I've not eaten. So once I save, now you have your what we call array of objects. So what you have inside are objects, but they're enclosed in array. So I can come down here and print it out. So I'm gonna, before I start printing, I'm gonna simply comment these ones out so that they don't stay in my way. So I'm gonna copy this, come down here and say console.log to-do. Save it out. So console.log to-do. If I save this and print it out, then I'm gonna see this array. You can see this is an array of different objects, and you can do a whole lot of things to this array of objects. And that will lead us into what we call the control flow of the various statements, like the if else, and how to loop through these objects in this array. We're going to be learning loop, the for loop, the while loop, and the rest of them. But very importantly, you need to get to learn about the various data types before we can look at these. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to learn how to get a specific value from this array of objects. Now, if you want to get a specific object value, say you want to know this text, what does this text contain? In fact, like the project I'm working on now in my company, we are using all these skills to, like, you read data from database, you want to, because we are using React to build the front end. So you're doing integration, you're fetching data. We are using Nest.js to do what we call server side and build time, get static props, calling of data from backend. So when you call this data is going to be in form of this array of objects. So you need to fetch particular values and display them in the front end, which is React. So you need to know how to access these values. So let's say I want to access the text value of the second element of the array. This is the second element of the array. The text value is do something. If I want to access it, how do I access it? So that's what we're going to be learning. So if I say console.log to-dos at, so to do, now this is the whole of the to-do. So this one, the one at index of 1 is this one, index of 0, this one index of 1. So if I'm targeting this one, so I have to say to do at, for an array, you have to put square bracket 1. So once you say this down, that means you're targeting this one. So if you print this out now, so print only this id2, do something, and blah blah blah. That object, that's what it's going to print. You can see it's only that object id2, do something, is done. So if you want to now print a particular value, say the text, in order to access an object, you have to use the dot notation. So I will now say dot the text value. If I save now and come here, it will print only do some, see, do some coding. So that is how you can access a specific. Let's say I want to access this false value. So first of all, I know that inside these to-dos, that this false value is in the third element, and the index of the third element is 2, because we know that the index is normally 1 less than the element length or the element position. So now, if I want to get this false value here, I'm going to first of all, this is 0, 1, 2. So here is going to be what? 2. And this false value is the value for this is done. So I'm going to make sure I have here as is done. So once I save and come down here, print, I'm going to get false here. You can see false. So that is how you transverse and get what you want. Then another very important thing to learn about is what we call the Json. If you want to convert something to Json, how do you do that? So Json is very, very important because when you're putting something in a REST endpoint, it's normally in JSON format. But when you get them down, it's in object format. So let's say I want to put this thing in JSON format. So I already have this to do. If I want to convert this to do, if I print this to do now, let me print it out, the whole of the to do, so that you can differentiate between JSON and the normal. So this is the normal normal object, array of objects. If I want to get array of JSONs, so I can convert this to JSON. And in order to convert it to JSON, I simply say JSON.stringify. So if I use that keyword JSON.stringify, then I now put my arrays inside a bracket. If I come down here now and print again, so what I'm having now is a stringified form of this array of objects. So this my the values here are now stringified. These are JSON values. And how you know JSON values is that both the key and the value are in quotes. The keys must be in quotes. And the value, if it is a string, must be in quotes as well. So you see ID is in quotes, text is in quotes, is done is in quotes. But as an object, they are not in quotes. So that is very, very important. So you can always do JSON.stringify in order to convert it to string. So it's more like everything is in form of a string for this. Okay. So that is important that we understand that. And that is where we're going to be ending today's class. So I will urge you to do the other assignment. Very, very important, because we'll be learning a whole lot of things from that assignment as we move forward. So in tomorrow's class, we are going to be looking at the control flows, looking at conditionals, loops. Look at loops, we look at conditionals. I'll try to move forward with those conditionals and learn how they are built. Is that okay with you?
It's not a problem. Thank you.
Okay. So these the part we are learning now is a gradual one in JavaScript, because they are the building blocks. What we are learning now, the various data types, control flow, and the rest. They are the building blocks. We're going to spend a lot of time learning them. Once we are done with them, we can start doing some applications with them.
No problem, it's fine.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right, Nimala, thank you very much.